Welcome back to Objective 2 in Chapter 10 of our 3A2 series. In this objective, we're going to calculate unknown resistances using a Wheatstone Bridge circuit. So to start off with then, what is a Wheatstone Bridge? Well, a Wheatstone Bridge is known in electrical engineering as a bridge circuit, and there are several of these that have got rather famous applications. Things like the Murray Loop Bridge, the Slide Wire Bridge, and our Wheatstone Bridge that we're going to talk about. And bridge circuits are basically a sort of electrical invention to determine basically an unknown value. Now our Wheatstone Bridge is going to be used to determine an unknown resistance, and where we see these in power engineering is in the field of instrumentation, and we see this in areas like where we use RTDs or resistance temperature devices, or even things like measuring temperature, for example, as resistance and temperature are linked. That is, typically for most materials, when temperature goes up, resistance goes up. So we could determine then what the increase would be by determining that increase in resistance on a bridge circuit. For further discussion of the uses of Wheatstone bridge circuits, check out Unit 9 on the 4A from 4th class, and also check out the instrumentation chapters in 3A2, as they go into the use of these types of things. Okay, the circuit itself is pretty straightforward. It's going to consist of two resistors with fixed values that we know, one variable resistor that we are able to alter its resistance to achieve balance. There is a galvanometer, which is simply an ammeter with a center zero position. There will be a power supply, and there will be a couple of switches that we can turn things on and off, i.e. the circuit and the center branch. And of course the last thing that our circuit contains is an unknown resistance value that we need to find out. Now the Wheatstone Bridge circuit is rather old. It goes back to the mid-1800s, and the original idea for this was basically that of an instrumentation circuit for soil analysis and soil resistance. So that's sort of where it goes back to its its invention, if you like. And the name of this thing is named after its inventor, a gentleman called Charles Wheatstone, and he just improved upon an existing design of the day. Now the circuit itself on the right hand side you can see consists of our two fixed resistors, R1 and R2, our variable resistor, R3, and then R4 would be our unknown resistance that we would be balancing the bridge to determine what that resistance is. Now you'll see our two switches, S1 and S2. S1 is simply our power supply switch, and S2 is the switch that will turn on the center galvanometer. Alright, so when we turn on switch S1, the circuit is energized. We can then close switch S2, and that center needle will then deflect either to the left or the right to indicate a current through the center branch. What we do then is we adjust the resistance R3 on the variable resistor until we achieve something called null deflection. And null deflection basically means we have 0 amperes going through that galvanometer in the center branch. When we achieve null deflection, the bridge circuit is balanced. So this objective is basically quite simple. It is determining that value of unknown resistance in the circuit when the bridge is balanced. Now what makes this a little bit more awkward is that we do not have a formula for this in our academic supplement. So we have to memorize this formula. The good news is it's pretty much just a set of ratios that compare one side of the bridge to the other. The slightly tricky thing is, it depends upon how you look at it. So for example, if you take a look at my formula I've written inside the box, I've written it in one of two ways. The first one is if you choose to compare the left-hand side of the bridge to the right-hand side of the bridge. And if you do that, we're doing R1 over R4 is equal to R2 over R3. If you choose to compare the top half of the bridge to the bottom half of the bridge, then it would be R1 over R2 is equal to R4 over R3. Either of those transposed will give us the answer for our missing resistance, R4. The other tricky thing is you can also invert all of those ratios. Meaning, you could write down R4 over R1 equals R3 over R2, and so on. It doesn't matter. So there's lots of variation here in terms of how you can see this formula written in a textbook for a Wheatstone Bridge circuit. The basic idea is you either compare left to right or you compare top to bottom. What you do not do is compare diagonals, meaning you would not write down in this circuit R1 divided by R3 is equal to R2 divided by R4. You are now comparing diagonally, and that is not going to give you the right answer. Okay, so before we actually start calculating this, let's just summarize again what happens. Switch S1 on the power supply gets closed. The bridge circuit is now energized. There's going to be a potential difference across that galvanometer, and switch 2 is closed, and that needle is going to deflect, and it will either go to the left, negative, or to the right, positive, to indicate a current going through it. The variable resistor R3 is adjusted, meaning increased or decreased, whatever the case may be, until we achieve null deflection, which is basically zero current flowing through the center branch. And when that is achieved, the bridge is now balanced. And when the bridge is balanced, that missing resistance, R4, may be determined. Now, in your textbook, you actually have a derivation of the formulae that I showed you a couple of slides ago. You don't need to know how to derive it, you just need to remember it. Alright, so a quick note on our galvanometer here in the centre. I've mentioned these things before back in 4th class, but as you can see on the display here of my sort of diagram of a galvanometer, you can see the 0 is in the centre position, we have negative values to the left, and we have positive values to the right. So that's all a galvanometer is. As this thing will be DC, it will either go to the left or to the right. It won't go both. Left indicates negative, right indicates positive. When we adjust our variable resistance to achieve null deflection, the needle on my analog instrument needs to indicate where it's pointing now, right at the 0 position. That will now indicate that the bridge is now balanced, and we may then determine that unknown resistance value. Okay, it sounds complicated, it really isn't. So let's check out an example, and then we can check out the examples in the textbook here, because it's really straightforward. Okay, so for this first worked example, we want to determine the resistance required to achieve null deflection if R1 is 80 ohms, R3 is 26 ohms, and R2 is 31 ohms. So in other words, the unknown resistance here is the one that we don't know about, that is R4. So let's throw this onto the whiteboard, and then we can go ahead and use our ratios to determine our answer. So here is our solution for this circuit. Looking at the diagram, we've got R1 is 80 ohms, R3 is 26 ohms, R2 is 31 ohms, and R4 is an unknown value. So in terms of the formula that I have to remember then, I'm going to choose to compare the top half of the bridge to the bottom half of the bridge. So I'm going to write my formula as R1 divided by R3 is equal to R2 over R4. I'll substitute my values in. So that will be 80 divided by 26 is equal to 31 divided by R4. If I now rearrange that formula for R4, I will get 26 times 31 all divided by 80. If I plug that through my calculator, 26 times 31 gives me 806, and dividing that by 80 gives me 10.075 ohms. And that there would be my unknown resistance for R4. Now, if you chose to do that formula a different way, we could compare a different part of the circuit. For example, we could choose to compare left to right. If you did it that way, let's see what happens. So left to right would be R1 over R2 would be equal to R3 over R4. Plug the values in again. That's 80 divided by 31 is equal to 26 over R4. Rearranging for R4, we'd end up with 31 times 26, all divided by 80. Now, if you look at the left-hand side of my solution, that's the same thing, isn't it? It's just the 26 and 31 are around the other way. So we're going to get the same answer as 10.075 ohms for our unknown resistance. So you can see it doesn't matter whether you choose to compare the top of the circuit to the bottom or the left to the right. Just don't compare diagonals. So in other words, we can't do R1 divided by R4 is equal to R3 over R2. That doesn't work. That gives us a different answer. You can also choose to do these two formulas that I've just shown you inverted, meaning you could spin around these equations, in other words, turn upside down, and you'll still get the same answer of 10.075 ohms for this example. It's very straightforward if you can remember the formula to simply compare top to bottom or left to right. Generally, I'll always compare top to bottom when I'm looking at these bridge circuits, so I keep it consistent. Now, the problem that you're going to have with these circuits is that when you get to a multiple choice question that simply lists out the resistor values, you are not given a circuit diagram for that question. So you're then left to determine, well, which one is which? Because you could label these resistors up as anything you want. It doesn't matter which way you label them up, as long as you're comparing left to right or top to bottom. Now, the answer to that is you always need to assume in a pan global type question or a provincial or a final exam type question that the way in which they are labelled up conventionally is the way in which the circuit diagram has been drawn in Objective 2 of your textbook. That is basically having the arrangement as shown on page, or I should say on figure 17 for those values. And if you look in figure 17, you've got R1, R3, and R2, R4. That is the way they generally are always going to show them in these types of exams. And that's where it can just get a little bit tricky. Alright, so hopefully you found this one straightforward. Let's just jump back to the PowerPoint and we can have a go at the self-test problem that's in your textbook here. Okay, so the self-test problem in your textbook is on page 19, and it's basically a question, once again, where we're going to need to determine the value of an unknown resistance. If you're feeling confident after the worked example in the previous section, have a go at it yourself. If not, follow me across to the whiteboard and we'll run this through on the solution. And again, I'll also make a note of the labeling regarding the circuit diagram. So let's check it out. Okay, so here is our self-test problem on page 19 of your textbook. So a Wheatstone Bridge is laid out as in figure 17 in your textbook in the same page. And just for reference, I've gone ahead and shown you figure 17 here on my whiteboard. The values are going to be different, which will just change out, but it's the same arrangement in terms of the labeling. Okay, so the applied voltage is 24 volts, R1 is 400 ohm, R2 is 500 ohm, and R4 is 200 ohm. So let's just change the labels here on our circuit so we've got some reference. Okay, so the voltage was 24 volts, R1 is 400 ohms, R2 is 500 ohms, and R4 is 200 ohms. So the one we're missing is R3. Okay, so using our idea of the comparing left to right or top to bottom, we can go ahead and solve for R3. So once again, I'm going to choose to compare the top half of the bridge to the bottom half of the bridge. So my formula, as I would remember it, would be R1 divided by R3 is equal to R2 over R4. Where R3 is our unknown resistance. So substituting the values in, that's going to be 400 divided by R3 is equal to 500 divided by 200. If we rearrange to find R3 will be equal to 400 times 200, all divided by 500. If we put that through our calculator, 400 times 200 is equal to 80,000, and dividing that by 500 gives me a resistance value here of 160 ohms. And that's the answer that they had in the textbook for this question. So nice and straightforward. Now again, if you want to try this comparing left to right, you should come out with the same answer. Now, the problem is going to occur is if we get this kind of question in an exam, but they don't give you a reference, i.e. they take out that bit that refers it to figure 17, how do you know which way round the loop is labelled? Meaning, how do you know R1 is top left and R2 is top right? I could choose to label up R1 top left and R2 bottom left. There'd be nothing stopping me doing that. And that's where the problems can come in with multiple choice questions on an exam that don't contain a diagram. Now, in my experience, with questions that you see from sort of places like Pan Global or the Provincial or even our exam bank type of questions, they're always typically going to relate to this figure 17 here that is in your textbook. So in other words, what I'm saying to you is it's a safe bet that if you get one of these questions to go with this labelling convention in your textbook, where R1 and R2 are on top and R3 and R4 are on the bottom. Now what's slightly annoying with that is on the big reference diagram in figure 15 of your textbook on page 17, they've actually labelled R1 and R2 on top, the same as this, but then R3 and R4 are around the other way. So that makes it a little bit annoying that they're giving you two reference diagrams for these Wheatstone bridges. I.e., it's just a little bit inconsistent here really in the textbook. But as long as you remember to compare top to bottom or left to right, and not to go diagonally, these things shouldn't cause you any problems. So reuse figure 17 as your labelling reference for this circuit diagram. Okay, that's it for the Wheatstone Bridge circuits. They're very straightforward and very simple to calculate. And again, we're only scratching the surface here of the basic sort of formulae and the applications of Ohm's law and things like potential divider circuits and all that good stuff for these bridge circuits. All we have to be able to do at third class power engineering here is simply to determine a resistance value here, which is the unknown value. And all you got to do for that is to compare left to right or top to bottom, rearrange and solve for simply one unknown. It's very straightforward, so that's as far as we need to go regarding Wheatstone bridges. Alright, hopefully you're okay with that and you agreed with that answer of 160 ohms. Let's just jump back to the PowerPoint and we can wrap up this very quick objective. So that's it for Objective 2. Pretty straightforward and the fastest one by far for this chapter. Give it a quick review. Make sure you're okay regarding the Wheatstone Bridge, regarding what the term null deflection means, what Wheatstone bridges can be used for, i.e. usually temperature measurement for things like RTDs for example, and how to calculate that missing resistor by either comparing the left to the right or the top to the bottom of the bridge circuit. Okay, so when you're ready, come back and see me for Objective 3 in the next video, where we'll take a look at calculations that involve electrical power, work and energy, which again will be a complete review of some fourth class material. So I'll see you for that one soon, whenever you're ready to keep going. All the best, take care.